I need to write this down while I still remember the details. Because the longer I sit here, the more it feels like my brain is trying to sand the edges off what happened. Like it's trying to make it feel normal. And it wasn't too normal. My grandfather had one rule. It wasn't tea written down. It wasn't tea explained. It wasn't tea even argued about. It was the kind of rule that didn't need a reason because the fear behind it was the reason. We never opened the guest room after midnight. Not to grab an extra blanket. Not to check the window. Not to shut off a light. Not even if we heard something inside. Especially not if we heard something inside. The guest room was upstairs at the end of the hallway, the farthest room from the stairs. It was a small room with a narrow bed and floral wallpaper that had faded into a sickly yellow over the years. During the day, it looked harmless. Just another room in an old house. But at night, it always felt occupied. Not by a person. By a presence. Like the air inside it was heavier than the rest of the house. Like it held on to things. My family lived in a quiet town in upstate New York, the kind of place where winter makes the world feel smaller and sound carries too far across empty streets. My grandfather's house sat at the end of a dead road surrounded by bare trees that clicked against each other when the wind moved through them. It was the kind of house you'd expect to feel warm. It didn't tea. Even in summer, it always felt like the heat stopped at the front door. The first time I remember hearing the rule, I was 8. I was staying there for a weekend while my parents went out of town. My grandfather tucked me in and stood in the doorway of the spare bedroom, one hand on the frame like he was bracing himself. He didn't say goodnight. He didn't ask if I needed anything. He just stared at me for a long moment, then said, "If you wake up and the house is quiet, don't go looking for the noise." I frowned. What noise? His eyes flicked up the hallway, toward the guest room. Then he looked back at me and said, very calmly, "Midnight changes what doors mean." I didn't understand. I laughed because kids laugh when adults get weird. But he didn't smile. He leaned closer and lowered his voice like the walls could hear him. "Listen carefully," he said. "If it's after midnight, you do not open the guest room. Not even a crack." I remember the way he said it. Not like a warning. Like a fact. Like gravity. I nodded because his face made my stomach twist. And then he turned off the light and shut my door. I slept with the blanket pulled up to my chin, staring at the ceiling until my eyes burned. That night, I woke up at exactly 12:07 a.m. I know because the red digits of the alarm clock across the room were the only thing I could see. 12:07, the house was silent in a way that didn't feel peaceful. It felt staged. Like the silence had been arranged. Then I heard something upstairs. A soft creak. One step. Then another. Slow. Measured. Like someone pacing carefully across old wood. The sound came from the direction of the guest room. My throat went dry. I didn't move. I didn't breathe right. I just listened. The footsteps stopped. And for a long time, nothing happened. Then the guest room door handle turned. Very slowly. Not opening. Just turning. Testing. Then it stopped. And the silence returned. The next morning, my grandfather made eggs like nothing happened. He didn't ask if I slept well. He didn't mention the sound. But when I walked past the hallway and glanced at the guest room door, I saw something that made my skin prickle. There were fresh scratch marks on the wood near the knob. Thin. Light. Like fingernails dragged across paint. When I pointed them out, my grandfather didn't even look. He just said, "Don't stare at it." I learned to follow the rule. Not because I understood it. Because the house felt like it rewarded obedience. When we didn't open the guest room after midnight, the night stayed quiet. When we pretended the room didn't exist, the rest of the house felt almost normal. My family didn't talk about it. My mom never brought it up. My uncle never joked about it. My grandmother never even walked past it at night. It was like we all silently agreed the guest room wasn't a room. It was a boundary. And boundaries are only boundaries as long as nobody crosses them. Years passed. I grew up. I moved out. I stopped visiting as often. But the rule stayed in my head like a childhood superstition you can't shake. Even when you stop believing in it, your body still remembers. Then my grandfather died. A stroke, sudden and clean, the kind of death that doesn't give you time to prepare. We went back to the house for the funeral. The house looked smaller than I remembered, like grief had shrunk it. The day after the burial, my mom and uncle went through paperwork and boxes downstairs. I stayed upstairs, sorting old photo albums and trying not to feel like I was walking through someone else's memories. The guest room door was closed, just like always. But the hallway felt different without my grandfather there. Less guarded. Like the house had lost its lock. That night, we all tried to sleep early. No one said it out loud, but I could feel the same tension in the air that I felt when I was 8. Like we were all waiting for midnight. Like we were all hoping the rule would still work even without the person who made it. I lay in my old childhood room staring at the ceiling. The house creaked in its normal ways, pipes cooling, wood settling. Then the clock on my phone rolled over. 12 a.m. I felt my stomach tighten like it always did. I told myself I was an adult now. That fear was just a habit. That the guest room was just a guest room. And then I heard it. Not footsteps. Not creaking. A voice. Soft and close, like it was speaking directly into the hallway. It sounded like my grandfather. Old. Rough. Familiar. It said my name. Not loudly. Not like someone calling from another room. Like someone whispering from right outside my door. My body went cold. Because my grandfather was buried 3 miles away. I sat up slowly, every muscle tight. The voice came again. Still my grandfather's voice. Still saying my name. Only now it sounded wrong. Not slurred. Not distorted. Just slightly off, like someone copying his tone without understanding what made it human. Then the voice added something else. A sentence that made my blood run cold. Open the guest room. I didn't move. I didn't answer. I stayed still, staring at my dark doorway. The voice whispered again, softer. Please. Then I heard the guest room door handle turn. Slow. Testing. Like it was checking if anyone had locked it. And then, from inside the guest room I heard something answer. Not a voice. A sound. A long, wet inhale. Like something breathing through a throat that wasn't built for air. My phone screen lit up on my bed. A notification. No app name. No number. Just plain text. He is gone now. You can open it. I stared at the message until my eyes watered. Then my bedroom door creaked. Not from me. From the hallway side. Like someone was touching the knob gently. Trying to be polite. Trying not to scare me. And right as the knob began to turn, the voice whispered one last time, right against the crack under my door, I'm the guest. Full story next chapters are on Story FYX. They disappear in 24 hours.